In today's watercolor tutorial, we are going to paint an autumn watercolor wreath that you can use to design your Thanksgiving cards or frame decoration at home. For the materials, I'm going to use my Baohong watercolor paper, which is 300 GSM. I suggest that you use at least 200 GSM for this project. I have my mixing palette. I have also that green there that I didn't wash because I don't want to waste paint. I'm going to use the Odyssey and Decadent pies from the Art Philosophy. And I also have 2 jars of clean water, one for my cool colors and one for my warm colors. A tissue paper and a set of round brushes. So I'll be using Princeton Neptune round brushes for this tutorial. Let's get started! Depending on the size of your watercolor paper, you want to draw a circle that will serve as a guide to your wreath. So here I have already drawn mine using a compass. If you don't have compass, just use a plate or any circle that you can use to trace its shape. Now we're gonna draw maple leaves. If you want a PDF copy of the easy steps to draw a maple leaf, I have a free guide that you can download, print, and trace to follow along easily on drawing a maple leaf. So I will draw 3 maple leaves and I'll start at this side. Basically, you want to first draw a stem, then I'll just erase the pencil marks here that is part of the circle. Next, draw a V shape and 2 horizontal lines. So these lines are connecting to a single point. And between the spaces, we'll draw a U shape like that, and we're gonna connect them with sort of curvy strokes. If you made a mistake, you can always erase that with a pencil. So just continue adding curvy strokes until you form the leaf shape. And I'll just repeat this process for the next 2 maple leaves. Okay, so here's already my 3 maple leaves as first elements to our autumn wreath. Before painting, I'd like to prepare my colors that I'm gonna use so I can work a little faster, especially if I want to blend some colors. When we talk about autumn, the colors that come to my mind are yellow, orange, brown, red, and greens. And one beautiful thing about fall is that the colors of the leaves change, so we can play around with the colors of our leaves here. Okay, here we go. I'm just slightly erasing some pencil marks here because I don't want them to show up after I have finished painting them. I'll be using Princeton Neptune size 6. And for the first maple leaf, I'll start with a yellowish color as the base layer, and I will just fill the whole leaf with this color. While this is still wet, I load my brush with orange color and just drop some paints on the sides of my maple leaf and blend the colors. for the second maple leaf, I want it to be more brownish, so I'm using this kind of ochre yellow as my base layer. Then I'm gonna drop browns in random areas and blend them in. I can also add some green at the bottom of this leaf to make it more interesting. And for the third maple leaf, let's make it a little reddish or reddish brown. You don't have to follow all the colors that I used here. You can mix your own colors. We're gonna wait for this to dry before we add more details. Let's move on to flowers and more leaves that will fill our wreath. Now I'm just painting simple 5-petal flowers and I'm placing them randomly but still keeping them balanced into the wreath. I'm also sticking to my color palette as I add more elements to my wreath like these simple flowers. Now I'm adding green colored leaves, but these are not vibrant greens. I added a little bit of brown and red to it so that they will still be in harmony with the other elements. You can vary the shapes of your leaves as well. Here, I'm adding longer leaves and others are thin leaves. course, don't be afraid to rotate your paper if necessary, if that would make your painting process easier. So, continue adding more leaves with varying shapes and sizes and color until you fill up the remaining spaces. And now I switch to my size 2 round brush to add details. If you don't have a smaller round brush, you can just use the tip of your paintbrush to do this step. Let's start adding a stem to this maple leaf right here. And then the lines that we draw earlier in this video. Then we'll add the veins. We'll do this for the 2 other leaves, but make sure that you're using the same color as to what you've used to your maple leaf. Like this second one, I'm using brownish color because it's the dominant color in this leaf, while on the first one, I used orange for the details because orange is the dominant color of the first maple leaf. You get the idea. Now, let's add the center details for the simple 5-petal flowers. So, I'm just adding random dots at the center, and I'm using yellow and adding a little bit of brown to add more interest. After you've finished the wreath, we'll take a look at its overall composition and see if there are still spaces that we can fill in. So now I'm adding small leaves as fillers, and I want them to be darker to bring the design together. The next step is optional, but I like adding lines to my flowers and leaves as this gives them a more blooming look and add depth to it instead of just looking flat. So there is our autumn-inspired watercolor wreath. I hope that you've enjoyed this simple tutorial. And if you're gonna try this, I'd love to see your work. Share it on Instagram and tag me at 7brushstrokes and use the hashtag BrushFriendsCreate so I can feature your works on my Instagram stories. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more art tutorials. Thanks for watching!